Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2000 Nissan Stagea 25T X4. Up front is a 2.5 liter turbocharged inline 6, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Stagea for two reasons. First of all, I love Stageas. Love Stageas because I love Skylines. Now, similar platforms, similar vehicles, same engines. Yeah, there's a lot to love here. But the second reason is the fact that this is the 25T X4 trim level. It's not the craziest trim level. It's a very odd trim level, and it's in an odd color as well. So this just isn't a very common version of the Stagea. Of course, we never got it here in the United States, so driving it around suburban Wisconsin is pretty far out of its element, and I'm excited to share it with you here today. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. Last but not least, of course, huge thank you to Tiki Bunny Imports for letting me borrow their Nissan Stagea for today's video. Please go check them out with the link down below. But let's get back to that RB25 DET under the hood. Well, it's a glorious motor. The RB family from Nissan is my favorite engine family. It makes fantastic power, it sounds good, it runs smooth, and this is the Neo, which just basically means the newer version of the RB25. They tried to make it a little bit more fuel efficient, more economical towards the end of the 90s and into the 2000s, but basically what it has on top of the old RB25 is that it gets a new cylinder head, it gets solid lifters instead of hydraulic lifters, more aggressive cans, variable valve timing, and redesigned ports. So it technically stands for Nissan Ecology Oriented Performance Engine. At the end of the day, wasn't that much more economical. However, it made some good power, and that VVT was kind of that selling point. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I prefer to take my RB25s the manual way. However, the auto shifter is doing fine, and we'll talk a lot more about that towards the end of the video, why it's really okay that it is an automatic. Of course, I would prefer the manual, but the auto is doing the job fine enough. Last but not least, this is all-wheel drive. Now, of course, like the Skylines, you could find them in rear wheel. That 4 in the name designates the fact that it is, in fact, 4-wheel drive, which is very nice. How does it feel to drive the Nissan Stagea? Well, it is quick, much like its Skyline brethren. It's quick, it's fun, it's a nice driving experience. I love the power that comes from the inline 6, not only because it's fast, but at the same time, it actually has torque down low, where like the SR20 doesn't, or the CA18 of the earlier era didn't. The Skylines and Stageas always had 6 cylinders, and so they offer that a little bit more premium experience. The ride quality is not very premium, however, I'm driving it on frozen Wisconsin roads, so it has to be graded on a curve. Visibility is good. You know, it's quick when you want it to be quick, and that's what I like to see. A little bit here. Oh, it's getting away from me. It wants to go. That RB26 is chomping at the bit. And I love that. I love that about it. It still has that sporty ideology. It's just in a little bit bigger of a package. Like a retired wrestler. They still want to go hit the mats, but you have a colonoscopy next week and prep starts now. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 simple gauges. Fuel and speedometer off to the left, tachometer and coolant temperature off to the right. Very basic, very simple, very straightforward. On the steering wheel, we get a Nissan badge as well as some controls for the center screen. That's it. Off to the right, we do get our climate control vent as well as headlight levelers. Kind of odd to see that in a car like this, but not super outlandish. And then moving on to the door, we have power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Again, you get this nice little fabric on the door, which is one of the first spots in the interior that starts to feel pretty premium, but definitely not the last. Moving into the center, we do get a digital clock up on the dash. We get 2 climate vents with the Stagea badging on it. Love to see that. And then we get our radio. This is the factory radio, the multi-AV system, and it is completely in Japanese. You do get a temperature knob, but the climate controls are all ran through the screen. So we complain about it here in 2026 about digital climate controls. Nissan was doing it in their Stageas back in 2000. Then we do get a radio below it. Funny enough, talking about modern stuff, it has a cassette player, so not very modern there, but a radio down below. And then we have pop-out cup holders. So we'll do a big friggin' bottle test. Of course it fails, but cool to see that it has these little cup holders that come out of the dash. Then we have our cigarette lighter and ashtray, and the shifter in the center. The shifter has this big chunky button on the left side. Kind of feels a little awkward to shift. There is power mode as well as snow mode for the shifter. It all works fine and dandy enough. I don't overly love it, but it's how the vehicle is operated. Then we do get some cubby space. Our heated seats, very, very nice on a day like today. But then we get an outlet, a wall outlet right here in the car. How awesome is that? That is so handy, so useful. It will never, ever, ever be obsolete. You can charge your brand new iPhone. You can charge your grandma's Walkman. Those probably took AA batteries, but you could charge whatever. You could plug in a Tiffany lamp if you want up here. This is such a cool feature, and sure, we see it in full-size SUVs today, but not in sport wagons from 26 years ago. That's pretty cool. Then we do get a center console, less cool, and the seats. The seats are tan, which I wanted to make note of because you just don't often see nice tan leather interiors in vehicles like this. This was kind of a sporty car, and so there was a lot of cloth going around in this era. This actually makes it a pretty nice place to be. The seats are comfortable, they're heated, they're power. Fantastic attributes to have in any car, let alone a 26-year-old Nissan. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Stagea. And unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot to work with. However, we do have airbags, which is just strange for me to see in JDM cars because they're all usually pretty old. Japan adapted airbags way after America did, or made them legally required way after America did. Ooh, this is tight, tight, tight. I'm hitting pretty much every surface of my body onto every surface of the Stagea. However, we do get dual sunroofs, so very, very cool to see that. The front occupants get their own, the rear occupants get their own. This ain't great. This is definitely a downside of this car, just because the chassis doesn't really allow for much. Now, this seat probably could be moved forward if the passenger was nice, but the Skylines and Stageas have never had great back seats. They've never really been, fantastic. I'd nearly, kneecapped myself by just closing the door. We do get cup holders. That doesn't really make up for it. We do get a center console. Does that make up for it? No. Yeah, back seats are not great, but they exist. You could chuck your friends back here. You could chuck your Nana or your Baba or whatever weird names people have for their aunts, uncles, grandmas, and grandpas. You can make it work. It is a four-door. It's a wagon, so we will take a look back there, but something to think about. Let's hop into the back. Let's take a look at the trunk and cargo space, because that's where the Stagea really kind of comes into its own. All right, coming around the back of the Stagea, big handle here just up above the license plate, and as you'll see, tons and tons of space. Now, this is a little irritating because, as you could see, the back row probably has almost a foot before the rear strut towers. These are the rear strut towers for the suspension, so I don't really see why they couldn't have moved the back seats back more, but that's okay. You get tons and tons of space. You get this awesome Stagea badge. You get these handles over here that will release the back seats, so you can get even more cargo space. Look at that. I mean, this is a U-Haul truck now. Absolutely love that. Fantastic. You get a 12-volt outlet back here. Again, a modern car feature 26 years ago. So very, very cool to see all of that around the back of the Nissan Stagea, and this is what makes it special. Skylines are fast, Skylines are fun, even in their sedan formats, but this is absolutely unmatched. You get an RB25 turbo attached to this. That's pretty cool. That's not pretty cool, that's very cool. Now we gotta talk about the looks. And first of all, I of course always love the look of the Stagea. However, this is special because it is finished in dark emerald green. Very, very rare color here for the Stagea, and it is brilliant. I'm sorry it's covered in snow and ice in some parts. It's 11 degrees today, the day that I'm filming this, and this ice won't come off. I don't want to chip away at the ice and risk hurting the paint. It is an absolutely wonderful color. That, and it also has a double sunroof, which is very, very cool. We talked about it with the back seat, but love to see that. I love the look of the Stagea. It is longer and lower than you think it is, but I personally like that. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another Nissan Stagea here on the channel? This is now the third Nissan Stagea that we have reviewed on Shooting Cars. Well, there's a reason that I openly love coming back to this car and driving it again and again and again. I will review every Nissan Stagea that I can get my grimy little hands on. And there's a reason for that. It's an incredibly balanced car. It does a lot of things very, very well. It's also a very realistic car. It's not crazy horsepower that's gonna make you fall out of your chair, but it's good. It's a solid amount of horsepower. And in all honesty, I really want an R32 Skyline. That's what I want. That is my dream car, is an R32 Skyline GTR. But this is the more realistic. I, in my mind of mine, say, oh, I would daily drive a GTR Skyline. But at the end of the day, this is actually what I should be daily driving. That's why I'm not mad at the automatic. It still has great power, still fun to drive, it's still right-hand drive, it's still a Nissan, it's still that era of tunable cars and something just so special coming out of the 90s. But it also has space in the back for people and pets and cargo. It's not so aggressive to drive. It's not this crazy beast waiting to get cut off the chain. It's a little bit more reserved, and it's classier in here. As much as I love the Skyline, Recaro bucket seats day after day after day get old. They get tiresome. These they're heated, they're power. Oh, they're cozy. They're so cozy on a day like today. I have the digital climate controls. I have auto climate controls that actually work. It's finished in a nice emerald green. It's presentable and interesting. All the GTRs that I see are in usually pretty boring colors. I can take this to the country club and park it and not look too out of place where I would in this hot boy tuner R32 GTR. In my heart of hearts, I would say yes, I daily drive a GTR, but in my heart of hearts, I actually want this. I want the hint of an R32. I want the hint of that RB25 under the hood. I want the hint of the all-wheel drive. I want the hint of a cool JDM car. I want the hint of a 90s Nissan. And so this hits enough chords correctly where it's still good and fun, but it just makes everything more comfortable. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Tiki Bunny Imports here in Wisconsin. Always wonderful to work with. Please, please, please go check out their Instagram. They're always posting what they're importing, or if you are looking for a specific car, you email them or message them and say, hey, I want an Altezza RS200. They'll go out and find it for you in Japan. They'll work with you through the whole process, and they'll get it to your door. So that is very, very awesome. I cannot recommend Tiki Bunny Imports enough. I've reviewed several of their imports over the last year or so, and it's always, always a good time. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.